What's good, YouTube and Twitch? I am joined by the one, the only, the maybe more enthusiastic than me, Cimo.
I don't know. It depends. We can outshine each other every once in a while.
Depends on the day and the time and how long you've been streaming.
And how drunk you are. But
True, you're not wrong. But a topic that's been on my mind that as links come out and get more powerful, and has happened with every single mechanic. What's gonna be the first banned Link monster? And certainly, like, the hot topic button monster in the room right now is Firewall, but not too long ago it was Saryuja, and we have Needle Fiber, Summon Sorceress on the horizon. We don't know when we'll get Needle Fiber, unfortunately, but those are both on the horizon and in the consideration too. But Firewall really seems to be the hot button ticket. I have a dark horse in this though, Cimo. Do you want to know what it is?
what is the... Well, I mean, we can discuss a couple first, and then we can get to the dark horse to have some suspense. I would say, okay, let's start with Firewall. And the only reason I say we start with Firewall is for obvious reasons, but also because it is the first Link monster to be on the limited list, which is usually a precursor on its way to the ban list. So...
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good indicator. It not being once per turn is a huge problem. The loops and advantage it was getting when it was co-linked to other copies of itself wasn't very good either. I feel like it was just poorly made when it didn't have a once per turn clause.
I mean, one of my biggest things is, too, when it comes to this, is that I am very anti-errata when it comes to cards, because I feel like when they errata a card, it essentially takes away from the card's identity of, like, what it truly was. So it's like, you know, now we have, you know, some of these other cards back, like Imperial Order and stuff. But it's like, that's not really Imperial Order. I mean, it's really close, but I mean, you're paying $1,400 instead of $700. But I think people who are veterans of the game, like you and I, really understand where I'm going with this. So it's like, I feel Konami's just more inclined to ban the card rather than just errata it. Or if they do errata it, they'll ban it first and then bring it back later.
Yeah,
So,
I feel like only ban cards, like, typically get errata unless it's problem-solving card text and...
Right, exactly, and then it just needs an update. But I don't know, I feel like if everyone's saying, you know, just errata it so it's once per turn, like, that would solve the problem, but again, then it's not really Firewall Dragon, you know? Like, at that point, they should just make a whole new card, but then it just has the once per turn clause. Like, I don't know, it's one of those things that's really weird, and I know I'm kind of, like, in the minority on that group. I know a lot of people love erratas, but... I don't know. I feel like it's not the same card if they errata it. So it's just like, I would just rather it be banned and preserve its, you know, brokenness and just not be playable.
What somebody actually said earlier in stream was like, make a Cyverse locked version of him and then fix it to once per turn. I was like, oh no.
Well, you know, they do need that Cyberse support desperately for all the people wanting to Cyberse to be a viable deck. So
yeah, one day if you don't do once per turn, it could finally bring Cyverse to the forefront. Maybe. Ooh.
Yeah. So I think Saryuja is a good segue here, because Saryuja is like, okay, it's not Firewall broken, but like Saryuja does some really crazy stuff.
Yeah, Billy literally, when I described it to him, he said, that's a Pokemon card, like, with how crazy it was. You can draw 4, fix your hand, put 1 back. Like, Pot of Duality defined formats, this doesn't restrict you from special summoning again. It actually helps you special summon again.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it would be a whole different story if it said, like, discard 3, draw 4. I mean, that would just, like, completely change how the card works, because, like, if you have a 3-card hand and you're drawing 4, you now have 7 cards to choose from, you know? And then, I mean, hell, if it was discard 3, draw 4, then it would just be, like, a +4 if you have no hand. So probably not. That'd be a little bit too broken. But you get what I'm saying, though. Like, the way it's just, the way you get to just basically sculpt and mold your hand out of the options that you get, there's, like, no other card in this game that really does that. And I think that's, like, what's insane about the card. And you get an extra special summon. So, like, hey, why not?
Yeah, it's not only, like, something that fixes your hands. It's then a further extender for your field.
Yeah, I agree.
But the crazy thing is, it doesn't fit in every deck right now. Actually, there's not a lot of decks playing it.
It's funny, it doesn't fit in a lot of decks, but the decks it does fit in, like, can play multiple in a single turn. Like, World Chalice and... There's like a couple other decks that can, like, make multiple Saryuja, which is just like the fact that it's not once per turn is just kind of absurd.
Yeah,
but I mean, granted, it is a little bit difficult to get 4 different monsters with the same name twice. But I mean, Saryuja gives you the extra summon, so that's like 2. So I don't know, but still, like, that's way too much hand manipulation. But I don't think the card's ban worthy. But like, I can see it going to 1 at some point.
I feel
I
like
definitely see that.
with needle fiber on the horizon, I feel it's very, very similar in some aspects to our pendulum link here, Heavy Metal Foes Electromite, in that it's limited to how good the cards around it and the decks around it are. And Metal Foes Electromite keeps showing and proving that it's better than like we'd ever thought. No matter how many hits, like it's going to carry some decks. But I feel like it when you start hitting stuff around a lot because of one card, it kind of hurts to see that too.
So I'm going to disagree with you because I think if I had to pick a card, I would probably say Needle Fiber will probably be the first banned Link monster because this card, we don't even have this card yet. And like, I'm like excited and terrified for this card's release simultaneously because this card is just, okay, so to play off your Electromite metaphor, the problem with that is Electromite is only good in pendulum-based decks, where Needle Fiber, you can literally throw tuner monsters into any deck, not to mention Ash Blossom, Ghost Ogre, Reaper are all tuners already, so you don't even have to really play more if you don't want to, and you are able to just generate just absurd levels of advantage and do just crazy things thanks in part to this one card. And I follow the OCG like, you know, not too frequently, but enough. And there's like, even in the OCG, they're like saying like this card has to go. Like this card is ridiculous.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a huge enabler. And then like if they're going with things like Reaper for it, you can still continue your combos through stuff like Isolde, right? Like
Yeah.
it's definitely interesting to see how this card you even if you stop it, like they can continue through their turn.
Yeah, exactly. And the tuners that you can play are so good, like even on their own. Like Effect Veiler is another one I forgot to mention. But if you're not counting hand traps, you have Glow Up Bulb, you have you have Mecha Fana Beast Orion, you have Jet Synchron. There's so many just good standalone tuners that this card, basically in tandem with the tuners, that a ton of these decks can incorporate. And it doesn't even really hinder their consistency. And actually, in tandem with our next card, Summon Sorceress, makes it even more busted because, like with Mecha Fan Beast Lion, for instance, you can use that with Summon Sorceress to summon Quick Fix, like in Spiral, for instance. So now you have just searchable Quick Fix anytime you can make Needle Fiber, which is just like insane.
Yeah, Summon Sorceress, a lot of people actually were really upset. Then a lot of people were really happy when it wasn't playing it, like available for the WCQ. It was kind of the same camp. There were people excited and terrified for Summon Sorcerers. It's very, very similar in how it enables decks like Needle Fiber, but I think like at the same time, I would say Needle Fiber's scarier to a lot of people.
The thing is, it's one of those instances where Summon Sorceress, I actually think would have been fine. I think it's the fact that in tandem with Needle Fiber, that's where it gets terrifying. Because literally Needle Fiber gives you instant Summon Sorceress access, and then most of the time you have a trigger to get your Summon Sorceress target in addition to that. And that's where it just gets crazy. So the fact that you basically have any 2-card combo to get to Needle Fiber, which gets you to Summon Sorceress, which enables your plays, is insane. But like Summon Sorceress on its own, I don't think it would have really affected the meta too much, but I mean, it would have probably bolstered some decks.
It would have bolstered
ABC
a lot, I feel like.
Yeah, Goki, ABC. Some other decks would have been happy to have it, but I don't really think it's like, it wouldn't have been the end of the world if it were legal for
Yeah, it wouldn't have like pushed ABC to be the deck.
No, I think it would have definitely pushed it up the tier ladder, maybe like a half note, but like not. No, it wouldn't be like the best deck or anything.
All right, so my dark horse in here is a difficult one because I don't know which one I would pick. But Konami's been very, very heavy hitting on archetypes, and I feel like they are eventually going to have to break up the Nightmare Gang at some point, and to effectively do that, somebody's got to get fully axed because a lot of people would be okay with playing one of everything.
That's true. I would say Griffin would not be one of them because Griffin's kind of more of like an option win more card, I would say, than like kind of essential to the Nightmare core itself. It's a strong card, don't get me wrong, but I wouldn't say it's like, the Nightmare card to ban.
Yeah, anything. Definitely not.
I would probably say Goblin or Unicorn.
Yeah, both of those would be pretty strong candidates. But like it's just made to extra link, and I feel like at some point you've got to look at everything and think, this is similar to, and how many extra decks it's going to fit into. It's going to take a lot of decks, instead of down different routes, to the same route, doing it different ways.
Yeah, no, I agree. And, now that I've had some time to think about it, I think, I think the first banned Link monster is actually going to be a Sky Striker Link monster.
Ooh, that's a pretty tough thing, because I feel like limiting them kind of does it for you, although you can recycle your resources very well in the deck, and maybe Konami will underestimate that a little. But I feel like the Sky Striker Links, they get recycled in their deck pretty well. But people do use them loosely currently. So, like, it would be watching people, like, how Zoo got multiple hits. Just people using them more carefully and recycling them more carefully. DD Crow mattering, that kind of stuff. So, like, limiting them just creates more skillful play. But, like, they'll still do their thing.
The reason I'm going to say that is because, A, we don't have Needle Fiber yet. So if Needle Fiber was already out, I would say for sure that'll probably be the first one to get banned. But because we have yet to receive that card in the TCG, I'm thinking back to like Zoo format, where we had Zoo legal for a pretty good amount of time. And then after the WCQ and the Megatins came out, all that. And then this isn't even a main set. So, I mean, actually, that might not even matter. They could just hit Kagari to 0, and then the deck basically is like, it's not like unplayable, but it's like hitting Kagari to 0 is basically like, that's really hurting the deck in a very negative way.
Yeah, it definitely does just slap it down an entire pack. It's access to the extra deck that makes it so good. Would be torn. I feel like their initial hit would be to 1, though. So, like, it's got to compete with Firewall for a couple ban lists in my book. I don't feel like they would just do it right away, but maybe only depending on its WCQ and Worlds appearance.
Yeah, that definitely would play a role, too. I mean, I think if my memory serves, Sky Striker is taking up, like, 45% of the OCG's meta right now. Obviously, they have Hayate, and so they probably won't hit the deck till after Hayate comes out in Cybernetic Horizon. But if they ever do, I mean, I definitely think Kagari would be what they hit. So, I mean, who knows? I mean, Firewall will probably go well before that, but, I mean, we'll see.
Yeah, I personally just don't see them eroding the card. Oh, it's the Ace Monster, etc. Like, Ace Monsters have gone well on limited list before. Like, I don't know, like...
To be fair, they haven't been as broken as Firewall, though.
Yeah, true. Like
you cannot compare Stardust Dragon to Firewall.
Yeah,
you cannot compare Utopia to Firewall.
Look at Goyo in the past, like, compared to a card like Firewall and how it ends up for its time. Like, yeah, it's broken for its time because it's stealing Firewall. Well, or not Firewall, Stardust. But yeah, exactly. It's stealing that, and then... Like, you still have battle traps, you have bottomless, like, you have all these ways to stop Goyo, but it was such a problem they decided to ban it back then.
Yeah.
Versus like, Firewall enabling how many FTKs?
Right now? Like, objectively in a vacuum, Goyo is better than Stardust, but, like, this is, like, another instance where, like, again, it's enabling so many FTKs, and I know a bunch of people say, oh, just ban the burn cards, but, like, realistically, this is a problem, and it all centralizes around Firewall. And we don't even have Needle Fiber and Summon Sorceress yet. That's also a thing, but... You know, it's funny we're talking about this because I think it's funny that, remember not too long ago, everyone was saying Spiral Double Helix should be banned?
Yeah, banned. And now it's like, people respect what the deck's doing after 2 hits. They're like, yo, they're still doing it. Like, yeah, they actually give it respect.
We completely forgot about Double Helix because they hit Resort and that effectively solved the problem. But, I mean, it wasn't long ago when Spiral was taking up, 90% of the top slots, and everyone's just like, fucking ban Double Helix, man.
Yeah, and Konami might just raise an eyebrow like, Spirals? Didn't we hit that twice? Is it not enough?
Well, I mean, they've hit Burning Abyss, how many times now, and the deck still survived. So.
And they just let Dante keep trucking. Oh, by the way, this is a random tack on, but one of my friends thinks Battle's a legend. That the Link monster might end up in there, and that it would replace Lightsworn in the amount of reprints it could do, like holo versions. Beatrice finally get its not gold. Dante's a pricey card, somewhat needs a reprint.
And then they put Cherubini as like the Minerva. I could see them doing that.
Yeah, that's almost exactly how they put it. So like, how big would that shake up Nationals to have the BA Link monster come out the day before?
I was going to say, I think people would be scrambling to try to, like, play that deck if that were the case.
Oh, yeah. Like, it would be so nuts. I thought Light Seca BA is actually, like, on the surface. It's topped a couple of regionals, I think.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So, I don't know. I feel like that's I would say that's probably everything in terms of the Link monsters that have the potential to get axed. But, you know, who knows? They make more broken Link monsters every set, so
Yeah,
we'll see.
and like the ones that are a problem, like Helix and Saryuja, fade out just a little bit each time, it feels like.
Yeah, and that's power creep in its natural form. So, but I don't know. I don't think Firewall's ever going to get power crept out. It's too good.
I'm waiting for the one comment that's going to be like, "You guys forgot Borreload." That's so fair and balanced. Like,
Yeah, Borreload's pretty fair. I wouldn't say Borreload's unbalanced.
yeah, I think it's extremely balanced in what it does. How it's chinks in the armor to spells and traps, and
It's a natural out to itself.
yeah, it takes itself. Like, what more do you want?
Yeah.
But thanks for joining us for this discussion. I'll have Cimoooooooo's channel linked in the description down below and at the end here, in case you somehow didn't know who this man's was when you're here.
Road to 100K.
Road to about to hit that 100K, about to smash into it.
Oh yeah.
All right, well, I appreciate you so much, and thanks for joining us here on the stream. 24-hour stream if you were missing it live.